we are going to look at solving two-step equations. Sometimes there's more than two steps, but it means that there's two operations. And whenever we see the word solve, that means we're looking for an unknown. And in this case, we're looking for the value of the unknown variable. We're looking for the value that makes an equation true. And when we start, that value is unknown, and when we finish, the value is known, and we're looking for that value. So let's say we have an equation that looks like this: 13 plus negative 3p equals negative 2. And our job is to find out what p is. And so we're trying to get the variable all by itself. Now, this equation as written is exactly the same as the equation 13 minus 3p equals negative 2, because adding a negative is the same as subtracting. And we want to get the variable all by itself. We want to get the variable by itself on one side. And so when we do that, we look at what's being done to the variable. And immediately, it's being multiplied by negative 3. And then the next step beyond that, the negative 3 times p, is being added to 13. If there was another step, we would go another step out and another step out. And then to solve this, we're going to work backwards. We're going to work from the outside thing to the inside thing. So we don't want to divide by negative 3 first, because that is what's immediately being done to the variable. The next thing that's being done to the variable is it's being added to 13, and so that's what we have to do first. So the first thing we have to do is to get rid of that 13. So what do we have here? This is a positive 13. We know it's positive because there's no sign in front of it. If there was a sign, a negative sign, I mean it's negative, but it's a positive. And so to get rid of it, we're going to subtract 13 from both sides. 13 here is being added, and so we're going to subtract it. By the way, the way this is written right here, 13 plus negative 3p equals negative 2. That's the same thing as negative 3p plus 13 equals negative 2. The 13 is being added to the negative 3p. And that's true if we look at the equation, if we're given the equation in this form, that still is the same as negative 3p plus 13 equals negative 2. Okay, so we had our original equation was 13 plus negative 3p equals negative 2. We're going to subtract 13 from both sides. And when we say from both sides, the sides we're referring to are always the sides of the equal sign. Whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do the same thing to the other side of the equal sign. You're never going to be doing it on the same side of the equal sign. And then what happens here, 13 minus 13 is 0. And then there's nothing to be added here, so I just bring this down. I'm just going to bring it down as a minus 3p equals, and then on this side I'm always going to combine like terms. Negative 2 and 13 are both numbers. They're like terms, so I'll combine them into negative 15. Now 0 minus 3p, that's the same as negative 3p. So negative 3p equals negative 15. And my job is to get the p by itself. What's being done to the p? It's being multiplied, because there's an understood multiplication right there. It's being multiplied to negative 3. I have to undo that. I have to do the opposite of the multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. And one way to write division is with a fraction bar. So I'm dividing both sides by negative 3. Now, when I divide this side by negative 3, the negative 3's cancel, and I'm left with p. And on this side, negative 15 divided by negative 3 is 5. Now, let me just do this a little extra for experts over here. When I have negative 3p divided by negative 3, and I just said they canceled, well, really what's happening here is we have to remember any number divided by itself is 1. So really what's happening, negative 3 divided by negative 3, that's 1. So this is the same as 1p. Well, but what is 1 times anything? 1 times anything is just itself. So 1 times p is just p. So that's why we can just say we can just cancel. So if I had 5x over 5, these 5's cancel, but they really are becoming 1. And there's a reason why that might be important. Let's say that I had 5 over 5x, and I canceled these 5's. Well, I can't just have nothing over x. I have to have something, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So that's why it's important to know that when you divide something by itself, you get 1. But that's just a little aside. That doesn't help us solve this problem. The answer to this problem is p equals 5.